The 5th year of being a Beijing drifter, my boyfriend cheated with an intern. The other woman posted his high salary slip online. The watermark on the image was clearly visible. He was done for. 1. My boyfriend and I started our Beijing drift right after graduation. The day we decided to stay in Beijing, we talked about the soaring housing prices and encouraged each other. Worst case, we'll rent forever. A humble room is still noble if the dweller is virtuous. Looking back at our youthful optimism years later, all I could muster was a bitter smile. A few days ago, the agent said next year's rent would increase to 4,000 yuan plus an additional month's agent fee. This was just a secondary bedroom in an old residential complex. Terrible lighting, less than 10 square meters. 4,000 was outrageous. The agent wouldn't budge. He knew this apartment fell within my boyfriend's company housing allowance range and had already factored the subsidy in. Besides, with a new wave of graduates about to enter the market, if we didn't take it, plenty others would. Unwilling to be fleeced, I hurriedly scoured rental apps, hoping to find landlord direct listings to avoid agent fees. The internet is flooded with fake listings and landlords. Searching exhausts me mentally. Checking the time my boyfriend will be off work soon, I can't help but feel, at least there's love, and that's already good enough. Lu Jian returned home. Before even taking off his backpack, he started venting about the new intern in his team. Ugh, kids these days are so incompetent. I have to teach them even the most basic things on the spot. Sympathetic to his work stress, I steel myself to comfort him. But the longer I listen, the more uneasy I feel. A faint smile plays on Lu Jian's lips. Su Lin is quite amusing, bringing flowers to her workstation, one bouquet after another like she's running a florist shop. She even insists on telling me the name of every single flower. So childish. I open my mouth but find no words. I itch to ask for details yet feel it be pointless. Lost in thought for a moment, he adds, no wonder she's 6 years younger than me. When I started college, she was still in elementary school. 6 years younger, so she's only 21 now. No wonder she still has the leisure to decorate her workstation with fresh flowers, in what netizens describe as the oppressive environment of an internet giant company. Flowers are the most troublesome, so expensive yet they wither within days. Flowers aren't even edible, more extravagant than fruits. To save money, we rarely even buy fruits anymore. That day was the first time Lu Jian mentioned Su Lin, but I had a premonition it wouldn't be the last. 2. Soon enough, something heartbreaking happened again. One day, I was scolded by my boss for no reason at work. After clocking out, I vented to Lu Jian, hoping for comfort as usual. He remained silent at first, then pressed his fingers to his forehead, sighed, and finally said, actually, you were wrong too. When your boss criticizes you, why not just admit your mistake gracefully? Why insist on arguing right and wrong and upsetting your boss? For example, today Su Lin's code almost caused an online accident. I couldn't help but reprimand her, yet she didn't stubbornly argue about right and wrong like you do. She readily admitted her mistake, apologized sincerely, and even treated me to milk tea. He licked his lips, seemingly savoring the aftertaste of the milk tea. It was actually quite good. My heart sank to the bottom. Lu Jian never drank milk tea. He considered it a product of marketing hype, an IQ tax that only fools would pay for. In the past, he would frown when he saw me occasionally drinking milk tea. Now he'd accepted it so quickly. I smiled bitterly and fell into silence. Lu Jian lowered his head to scroll through his phone, occasionally tapping on the top message notifications, fingers flying across the screen. He had truly changed. In the past, he hated wasting time on chat apps the most. Nearing midnight, Lu Jian finally put down his phone to shower. The moment he left, the screen lit up again. I never checked his phone, so he had no reason to hide it from me, but this time I turned my gaze toward it. A contact labeled Little Silly had sent a message, meet at the canteen tomorrow at 9. Latecomers treat milk tea. 3. I didn't know whether Lu Jian, who usually didn't arrive at the company until after 10, had woken up early for the appointment because by 7 o'clock, I was already on the crowded subway. Lu Jian worked as an algorithm engineer at a major internet company, where the high stress and mental strain often led to insomnia. That's why we always rented apartments close to his workplace, just so he could sleep a little longer. But this meant I had to spend over an hour commuting every day. Still, an hour-long commute isn't unusual in Beijing, a city that warps one's sense of time and space. Clang, clang, the sound of the subway pounded against my nerves, already frayed from sleeplessness. Hanging onto the subway handrail, I glanced at the ad screens and realized today was my birthday. I remember the day we got together. He held my hand and said, from now on, I'll give you gifts not just on your birthday, but also on Qixi Festival, Valentine's Day, every 100-day anniversary, and yearly anniversaries, every occasion worth celebrating. He kept his word, giving me all kinds of presents until he became so practiced at it that friends joked he could start a paid consultation service online for clueless straight men. But ever since my birthday 2 years ago, when Lucian was working overtime all week, he started using red envelopes as substitutes for gifts. On occasions like 520 and 1314, he was never stingy. We were classmates. After graduation, he joined a big tech company while I entered a state-owned enterprise, one earning money, the other securing a household registration. Lucian rode the wave of the internet boom, and his income had become quite substantial. At the end of last month, glancing at his payslip, he joked, "Ugh, the taxes I pay are higher than your monthly salary. But you guys really have it easy clocking out at 5, so nice." Did I really have it easy? All the household chores fell on me: cleaning, buying discounted groceries at the supermarket, and painstakingly searching for rental properties once a year only to ask if he approved. Last week, when I showed him a few places I'd shortlisted, Lucian skimmed through them carelessly and complained, "No good, this place is too old. This one's too close to the road, too noisy. A 20-minute walk to the office is too far." Finally, he snapped impatiently, "Why can't you find something better? We're saving to buy a house, so we pinch every penny. Our rental budget is less than $4,000, yet rents keep soaring. Even $4,000 means paying $12,000 all at once every quarter." Though we'd agreed he'd cover the rent, those silent seconds when he frowned as I asked for money still made me feel my dignity crumbling. Coming back to myself, I saw my reflection in the train window, wearing a baggy old coat, my hair long unkempt. Yet directly across sat a stunningly beautiful girl. Jet black hair, limpid dark eyes, slender hands with pearly, delicate nails. She seemed like a character from a novel, shoulders unburdened by life's dust, only riding the subway because she was pressed for time. Feeling inferior in this contrast, I discreetly moved away when others exited. Truthfully, I come from a comfortable county family, open-minded parents willing to support me, but their lifetime savings are but a drop in Beijing's housing market bucket. For the faint dream of buying a home and settling down, I've been living such a disheveled life in Beijing. 4. At work, my close friend Dandan messaged me to meet in the evening, saying she had something important to discuss. I felt restless all day, sensing it wouldn't be good news. After exchanging some casual remarks during our meeting, Dandan lowered her voice. "Did you know that Lucian has been eating alone with an intern in the company cafeteria every day?" Seeing no reaction from me, she added, "Breakfast. If there weren't something fishy, who'd be crazy enough to schedule breakfast dates? Sending messages back and forth early in the morning instead of sleeping more. Wait for me, I'll wait for you. What leisure they must have." Noticing my silence, Dandan waved her hand before my eyes. "Hey, have you gone dumb?" I was thinking, so they've already been having breakfast together for a while. At that moment, I felt like the rock hanging over my head had finally fallen, thud, plunging straight into a bottomless abyss. All these days, if I said I didn't mind him constantly mentioning Su Lin, that would be a lie. After all, I still love him. But I have my dignity since he doesn't bring it up. I keep my mouth tightly shut and don't ask. Now things are clear in places beyond my sight. Lucian has been living quite an interesting life. Dandan gives me advice, telling me to make a trip to the company. Bring something over to assert your territorial claim. Young girls naturally develop some admiration for older men. It doesn't necessarily mean she's actually trying to steal your man. First establish your claim. If she has any self-respect, cooling off would be best. If she doesn't, I'll help you give her a piece of my mind. I shake my head. When I chose to stay in Beijing, it wasn't for this day when I'd storm in like some scorned first wife from a trashy melodrama. Moreover, if I actually did that, I'd truly become the kind of woman netizens mock, demanding others stay away from her boyfriend while said boyfriend looks like a kappa. The mental image of a kappa makes me laugh inappropriately. Dandan shakes my arm like she's seen a ghost. "Hey, pull yourself together, show some backbone, and get him to marry you ASAP. You've been together for 8 years. How much longer are you going to drag this out?" Her words leave me utterly confused. To rush into marriage at the very moment when my boyfriend is suspected of emotional cheating. Who's really crazy here, me or Dandan? Don't give me that look. Do you think men with his education, salary, and looks are easy to find? From personal experience, I'm telling you they're not. Once men like him are caught, they're never back in circulation. Seeing I wanted to object, Dandan cut me off with a wave. "I know what you're going to say. You want pure love, true love. But so-called love, so-called marriage, is sometimes just a game of strategy. So many seemingly loving couples have their own private struggles behind closed doors." Her voice took on a tinge of pity. "Xiaojuan, Lucian still has feelings for you. He's just momentarily distracted. At our age, meeting a new man unless we're in some Mary Sue novel would only mean someone more selfish, more cold-blooded, more messy. I stayed silent, knowing she was right. Dandon had always been brutally honest, sharing every bitter detail of her matchmaking experiences with me. 5. I went home silently. Lu Jian hadn't returned from overtime work, but 10 minutes ago he posted a moment. On the table were beer and grilled skewers, with his caption, "Full of favors owed, so roll up sleeves to debug now." In one corner of the photo were roses in a vase, while the bottom right revealed a glimpse of freshly polished nails, pink and glossy. Truly seeing each other day and night. The couple next door started arguing again, dragging me back from my romantic reverie to reality. Something was thrown, loud accusations gradually turning into muffled sobs. I used to take it for granted that we were completely different from this couple next door. They were veteran Beijing drifters, the not-so-successful kind. Nearly 40 and still renting, often quarreling violently, cursing each other, tearing all pretense. Where was the romance in that? While I once believed there was love between Lu Jian and me. Late at night, Lu Jian still hadn't come home from work nor replied to messages. The him from before would take off early on Fridays, squeezing into the kitchen with me to cook dinner. It's midnight. The previous day has ended and I haven't even received a birthday wish. In the silence, ambiguous sounds come through the wall. That couple has reconciled. I suddenly remember last summer when they brought twin girls from their hometown. The family of 4 crowded into that tiny room, waking up early on weekends to enthusiastically explore Beijing together. Perhaps they truly share real affection, intertwined like vines around a tree. Lu Jian and I never argue, but neither do we communicate. I keep early hours while he comes and goes late. We don't discuss marriage or the future, just mechanically save money, and numbly live day after identical day. Now, it seems he's found a ray of light. 6. Nearing noon on Saturday, Lu Jian asks me, "You didn't make lunch." I say, "We're eating out today." At the restaurant, resentment simmering inside me, I swiftly order dish after dish. After all, he's paying. After all, feeling sorry for men is pointless. Lu Jian hesitates, holding back words. When I name the 5th dish to the waiter, he finally sweeps his arm decisively to close the menu for me. "Let's order this much first. We can always add more if it's not enough, no need to waste." When the dishes arrived, perhaps because the large order made him wince in pain, Lu Jian finally put down his phone and lifted his eyes to eat. I only picked what I like to eat, putting down my chopsticks after being 70% full. Not having to consider the man's feelings made things much easier for me. After the meal, we wandered around the mall, browsing jewelry stores and shoe and bag shops. Lu Jian paid for me twice. By the 3rd time, he took a step back at the checkout counter and said with a smile, "I'll give you the chance to pay for this one yourself." We must have looked like quite the odd couple in the cashier's eyes at that moment. I chuckled lightly, then forget it, and turned to leave immediately. As I exited the mall, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a glass wall. By chance my expression looked utterly dull. Would I really be happy taking revenge this way? Is playing mind games with him, squeezing as much money as possible from his pockets, and throwing tantrums or giving him the silent treatment when he refuses, truly a good method for revenge? I'm 27 this year, still in the golden years of my life. All I want is to love someone wholeheartedly. 7. In my wandering pain, I received a call from home and realized it had been so long since I last called my parents. I apologized, saying, "I've been busy lately and forgot to call you." "It's alright, we're doing just fine at home. Actually, your mom and I were thinking of coming to Beijing to see you in a couple days, would that be okay?" My father's cautious tone made my nose sting with emotion. I said, "Of course you can come. I'll show you around when you're here." My father happily replied, "Then I'll pass the phone to your mom now." As soon as I called out, "Mom," she immediately asked, "Why does your voice sound stuffy? Did you catch a cold?" "No, I didn't." Holding back tears, I forced myself through a brief conversation before hanging up. A week passed in a flash, and I went to the station to pick up my parents. They spotted me from afar and waved cheerfully. When they reached me, they both said in unison, "Qiujuan, you've lost weight." My mother hugged me tightly, the gentle fragrance of her perfume enveloping me. It was still the same bottle I bought with my first paycheck for her, and ever since then, she believed no other perfume in the world smelled better than this one. My father asked with a smile, "Is Xiaolu at home?" When he heard my parents were coming yesterday, Lu Jian didn't proactively offer to pick them up together as before. Instead, he asked tentatively, "Should I go too?" I said there was no need, and his visible relief was palpable, as he immediately slung his backpack over his shoulder and left for the office to work overtime. This time he didn't come to pick them up, and my father said, "Work comes first. We're perfectly happy having our daughter welcome us." My parents have always liked him very much, and even Lu Jian often marveled, "Uncle and Auntie are such wonderful people." The last time he visited my home, his buddies teased him that he might get pressured to drink, but in reality, my parents didn't give him any trouble at all. 8. On the way to the hotel, my parents found everything fascinating, pointing excitedly at even a Qingfeng steamed bun shop to show each other. I took my parents to a Yunnan restaurant and ordered their signature steamed pot chicken. My mother remarked, "The chicken soup in Beijing is so wonderfully brewed." My dad nodded, "Exactly. And what a clever idea, taking out the chicken and pouring sauce over it makes another dish." Besides the steam pot chicken, my parents only allowed ordering 2 more dishes, saying, "This is already very good. We should spend money wisely." Accompanying my parents to visit Yuantan Park, I bought Mom a sakura-shaped ice cream. She said such a beautiful ice cream must be shared on social media. My dad quickly took out his phone to take photos for her. The overcast weather made the photos dark and unclear. Seeing this, I also took out my phone to take one. My mom examined them carefully and said, "Chio takes better photos." My dad scratched his head sheepishly nearby. Being with my parents was joyful, though the happiness was tinged with melancholy, knowing in my heart these good times were slipping away like sand through an hourglass. When seeing them off at the high-speed rail station, my mom kept gazing at me affectionately, while my dad held my hand preciously and said, "Be strong, my girl." In their eyes, I was always the one and only treasure in this world. They passed through the security gate, stepped onto the escalator, and still smiled at me mid-air. I stood in the chilly air of Beijing South Station, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched, feeling unprecedented loneliness. 9. I soon found out what Lu Jian had been busy with on weekends. Dandan worked at the same company with him, and one day she forwarded me an intranet post. She said, "I knew at first glance it was him who posted it." The title of the post was, "Should one choose stable commitment or heart-fluttering true love? I've been with my girlfriend since student days, our relationship is stable. But recently I met a very adorable junior. When she looks at me with admiring eyes, it's really hard not to be moved. When we first met, I didn't treat her well, but she was so innocent that she didn't take it to heart at all. Instead, she was very kind to me, and over time, I felt embarrassed. I've spent the last few weekends helping my junior prepare for spring recruitment, editing her resume, using all my connections for internal referrals, personally tutoring her through coding problems. It's been ages since I've worked so hard for someone. Then I think about how my girlfriend recently asked if I could help with internal referrals. Instinctively, I found it troublesome and advised her to give up, saying big tech firms are hard to get into. Yet here I am, already planning how my junior should negotiate her spring offer package. Perhaps I already have my answer. Most commenters condemned OP for being fickle, except one guy who smugly shared, "I've been in the same situation, married but met someone new. I confessed to my wife, we worked through our relationship issues together and ultimately resolved the crisis." Reading this, I felt nauseous. The sheer narcissism and selfishness were practically leaking through the screen. I just hope Lu Jian doesn't get inspired and come tell me, "I fell for someone else, what should I do?" I'd probably vomit on the spot. Continuing to scroll through the comments, I saw a sister angrily shouting, "Please, just break up with her directly." Lu Jian's reply sent chills down my spine. He said, "Recently, my grandmother hasn't been well. I'm afraid if I break up with her and things don't work out with the junior girl, I'll end up with nothing from either side. Don't be too hard on me. I'm just an ordinary person trying to find happiness." 10. I closed my laptop and reminisced about all these years with Lu Jian in my mind. During university, whenever we saved enough money, we'd go traveling. To save money, we took overnight sleeper trains, and he always gave me the lower bunk. Despite his 1.8-meter frame squeezed into the narrow upper bunk, he pretended to be completely comfortable to put me at ease. He was diligent, warm-hearted, and always well-liked by classmates. Before graduation, many wished us an early marriage. Who could have predicted that later, I would become his backup plan? I stood up, found a small suitcase, and first placed my documents inside, followed by personal clothing and the books I'd collected over the years. I was ready to leave. Looking around the apartment I shared with Lu Jian for 2 years, freshly washed sheets hung on the small balcony. I remembered that day when I asked him to help fold the sheets. Though clearly free, he remained seated until my repeated urging finally made him get up, casually remarking, "Always rushing me. By 40, you'll probably turn into one of those shrews, won't you?" At that moment, I felt utterly humiliated. A phone call jolted me out of these memories. It was from Lu Jian's grandmother. Her gentle voice came through, "Chio, Grandma just made some rice cakes. I'll mail them to you tomorrow. Aren't they your favorite? When the locust blossoms bloom, come back with Jian, and Grandma will make you locust flower rice." With a pang of sorrow, I replied, "Of course, Grandma. Thank you." Lu Jian's grandmother became a widow early in life, single-handedly raising her son, and later her grandson. But as years passed, her son and daughter-in-law began to see her as superfluous, making indirect comments to marginalize her. The strong-willed old lady went to Shanghai to work as a nanny, and eventually even paid for Lu Jian's college tuition. When I first met her, she was in her 70s, with a crescent moon-shaped short haircut, using a black wire headband to keep all the stray hairs neatly in place. She looked particularly fresh and spirited. She naturally held my hand, her eyes sparkling bright, laughter rippling through the crow's feet at their corners. She was very kind to me, but she was Lu Jian's grandmother, and ultimately we were never meant to be. 11. Spring recruitment was in full swing, and job postings frequently appeared in my social media feeds. According to Lu Jian's plan, once Su Lin received her job offer and her future was settled, he would confess his feelings to her. If everything went smoothly, then the new could replace the old. I found a studio apartment, close to my company, and within my budget. Lu Jian once glanced at it and asked me, "This isn't covered by the housing allowance, why are you looking at it?" I didn't reply. That afternoon, Lu Jian actually sent me a WeChat message, a rare occurrence. "Working overtime today. It'll be very late. Staying outside. Go to sleep first." I stared blankly at the reservation confirmation email I'd received minutes earlier for a hot spring hotel in Beijing's suburbs. Lu Jian had forgotten that back in university, we were so close that he'd used my email for some of his account registrations. At midnight, from my new place, I called Lu Jian. After a long pause, I heard his hushed hello followed by a preemptive, "Didn't I say I'm working overtime?" My voice was calm. "Let's break up. No more contact. I've already moved out." "Chiu, what do you mean? Are you upset? Can we talk about whatever it is when I get back?" When I stayed silent, his tone turned impatient. "Since when did you start pulling this kind of act?" "I'm just working late, not out having fun." Then, through the phone, we simultaneously heard a delicate voice, "Gidge, why did you go outside?" I sneered, "Not out having fun," and hung up. A single tear clung to the corner of my eye, which I casually wiped away. A piece of dead skin was peeling at the edge of my nail, which I'd absent-mindedly picked at multiple times but couldn't find the nail clippers. As I rummaged through my luggage, I suddenly paused and searched for a nearby nail salon on my phone. Very close, just a few steps away. At the salon, I sank into the sofa, emptying my mind while waiting for the technician to meticulously trim and shape my nails. After getting my nails done, I went home, dug out the projector, dusted it off, and put on a movie. On weekends, I could sign up for flower arrangement classes or Pilates. When you reach the end of your rope, just turn around, you'll find the world is vast after all. 12. Lu Jian smoothly changed to a new couple's avatar. Dandan screenshot his WeChat Moments background to show me a girl with immaculate makeup smiling at the camera while holding a cake. Pretty girls who post such enviable photos seem unconcerned about privacy. Dandan was indignant, scolding me for being too meek. "Are you really going to let him off that easily?" I patted her arm reassuringly and said gently, "How about I write a PDF document exposing his relationship-hopping behavior and spread it on your company's intranet?" Dandan squinted at me, not falling for it. "I know you're joking again." I said, "Dandan, do you still remember Senior Lin Ma?" "How could I forget?" Her voice lowered. "Senior Lin Ma was once our shared idol. She spent her childhood abroad with her parents, could speak fluent English, and often wore a delicate pearl necklace around her swan-like slender neck. Humble and gentle, the senior was very caring towards us juniors. Yet this elegant woman one day sent dozens of consecutive messages in the grade group chat, accusing her boyfriend of repeatedly cheating and two-timing. Her words had lost coherent logic, becoming disjointed, and she spread screenshots of her boyfriend's explicit chats with the other woman across various group chats. Dandan and I clearly remember that day. When it happened, we were sitting in the school cafe discussing group assignments. A girl suddenly exclaimed excitedly, "Juicy gossip. What a huge scandal." Everyone immediately pulled out their phones, completely shaking off their drowsiness, their eyes wide with excitement. The girl then declared with vicious satisfaction, "So much for our senior's arrogance, still got cheated on in the end. Let's see if she keeps putting on airs now." Dan and I exchanged glances, simultaneously feeling bone-deep sorrow and terror. This was the same girl who always liked and commented on that senior's social media posts, who bragged about our amazing senior to students from other departments during lectures, speaking as if they were blood sisters. Thus we understood how fundamentally lacking human empathy truly is. While hysterical outbursts may feel cathartic, how many people genuinely mourn or rage for you? And how many more secretly revel in your misfortune, using it to belittle you? No matter how beautiful or accomplished a woman might be, the moment she loses a man's favor becomes their excuse to assume she must have some hidden disgrace. As if a woman's greatest value is validated solely through male fidelity. Lu Jian and I were never married, so we owed each other no fidelity. If he stopped loving me, I'd simply walk away. Why wallow in self-pity or cling desperately? 13. Less than a month after our breakup, a new follower appeared on my Weibo account who liked one of my older posts reminiscing about high school days. I recognized the photos the same person featured in Lu Jian's WeChat Moments background. This must be Su Lin. What kind of drama is this now? Dating for less than a month and already dragging an ex into the relationship as emotional seasoning. Her recent food photos included one showing a man's hand across the table. Scrolling further back revealed a girl's journey from secret crush to realized romance, with many commenting so sweet. Su Lin had nearly 10,000 Weibo followers, maintaining an elite university beauty persona. Now with a handsome, accomplished older boyfriend, she had perfect material for daily relationship updates. I followed her right back, observing her lovey-dovey posts, without emotional investment, treating it like a sociological experiment. After about 2 weeks of this, a former classmate came to gloat that Lu Jian was planning to propose. He said he wanted to give his grandmother a surprise and asked me which planning company I used for my marriage proposal. Yu Qingqiu, I never expected the marriage proposal wasn't for you. What a pity. You're 28 now. Or 29. Women depreciate with age, you'd better hurry up. This classmate once showed interest in me, but I ignored him because I disliked his boastfulness about wealth. I never thought he'd hold a grudge till now. While he was rambling, I came across Su Lin's new Weibo post. She participated in a discussion titled "What Do You Own?" as a post-aughts generation. After listing her and her boyfriend's salaries, she faced skepticism in the comments. In an era where ordinary college graduates earn only 5,000 or 6,000, the income of senior internet engineers is astonishing. If Su Lin were more experienced, she could have ignored it. Those who understand would naturally speak up for her. But she's still young after all, so she quickly posted a screenshot. It was Lu Jian's freshly issued payslip. A faint watermark of Lu Jian's name was visible in the image. The company explicitly prohibits salary disclosure. Crossing this red line would result in termination and forfeiture of stock options. These days, Su Lin's follower count has surged to over 100,000 due to her public displays of affection. 14. Netizens are highly sensitive to matters involving money and unfairness. As I anticipated, the situation rapidly escalated. Soon, Dandan discovered Lu Jian's work account had been deactivated. In internet companies, even the most outstanding individuals aren't irreplaceable. They operate with ruthless efficiency. Today's tasks can't wait till tomorrow, and terminations happen immediately when decided. Lu Jian lost his nearly 800,000 yuan per year job, and with unemployment came the departure of his true love. He went on an emotional rampage in his late-night WeChat Moments posts. Whenever you wanted cosmetics, didn't I immediately go to the counter to buy them for you? Just days after breaking up, you're flaunting bags bought by another man. Couldn't I afford them? Perhaps realizing reconciliation was truly hopeless, 3 days later Lu Jian locked his moments and changed his couple's profile picture. 15. I took annual leave to visit my parents and dropped by to see my high school homeroom teacher. Standing by Teacher Zhu's desk, I could faintly hear laughter from the playground. That sound, mingled with the scent of dusk, felt hauntingly familiar, as if I might return to my desk the next moment, working on endless math problems that never seemed to get solved. Teacher Zhu bent over and rummaged through the cabinet for a long time, before finally straightening up, patting the commemorative album in her hands, found it. The dust on the commemorative album silently testified to the decade that had indeed passed. After browsing through our graduation photos together, the teacher casually pulled out another album and pointed to a slender girl, asking me, "Do you still remember this one Su Lin?" Nowadays, hearing the name Su Lin didn't sit well with me. But since many people shared that name, and the teacher had asked, I leaned in for a closer look before shaking my head. Teacher Zhu smiled and said, "It's normal you don't remember. She was several grades below you. When this child first came to school, her right arm was fractured and her little face was as pale as paper. She claimed she fell by herself, but seeing how crudely her arm was bandaged and recalling her father's vicious and shameless demeanor, I immediately guessed it was another beating. Her father was rumored to be involved in pyramid schemes. He made money at first, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to send his child to a city high school, but soon, the money ran out, and he even stopped providing living expenses. Once, when I visited her home to help her apply for financial aid, I saw her father dragging her toward a car, intending to take her to some big shots drinking party. Isn't that forcing his daughter to entertain guests with alcohol? Thankfully, the child is strong-willed and consistently ranked in the top 3 in exams. But after her right arm fracture came midterms with no hand to write, she ended up ranking last in the entire school. Most kids would have skipped the test altogether, but she took it hard, keeping her head down all day, visibly crushed. At this point, Teacher Zhu glanced at me with a smile and said, "That's when I thought of our little Chio." It suddenly dawned on me I remembered now. In high school, I joined the girls' soccer team. Though my skills were mediocre, I ran energetically back and forth across the lush green field. One day during a game, someone collided with me. I could have just rolled with it, but on a whim, I tried to stylishly break my fall with my right hand. Well, I ended up breaking it instead. Around that time, a boy had just broken his foot playing basketball. The teacher had warned us to be careful, yet here I was giving her another surprise. Furious, Teacher Zhu sat us both in the front row of the classroom, one on each side, as a warning to others. Stuck under the teacher's watchful eye every day with no chance to sneak read novels, I grew so bored that I practiced writing left-handed. By the time my right arm healed, my left hand could write quite decently. Teacher Zhu mentioned this classmate who'd also broken her right hand in our WeChat chat, asking me to write her an encouraging letter with my left hand. At that time, I seemed to have just graduated from university and was still at home, not yet having started my northern drift working in Beijing. Discovering that my muscle memory for left-handed writing remained intact, I enthusiastically wrote a long letter. From some forgotten corner, I also dug out my zero-score exam papers from after my hand injury. Though not a single proper character was written on them, they were filled with scribbles. I wanted to show her that scoring 0 wasn't such a big deal. A month after receiving my letter, my junior schoolmate replied with a short note. Her handwriting was already quite decent by then. Given this connection, I leaned in to take another look at the girl's photo. In the group photo taken after the college entrance exams, she was still wearing her summer school uniform, a white shirt and black pants, standing out conspicuously among the sea of dresses. Even under the harsh summer sunlight, one could tell she was a delicate and pretty girl, and somewhat familiar looking at that. 16. After returning to Beijing, one midday, a colleague mentioned that someone named Su Lin was looking for me downstairs. At that moment, I was yawning in the pantry, waiting for the coffee machine to dispense coffee into my mug. Hearing the voice, I glanced out through the floor-to-ceiling window and saw someone looking up from downstairs. The sight startled me so much I nearly stumbled. What era is this? I hadn't gone looking for her, yet she came to find me instead. Hiding wasn't an option. I put on my coldest mask and went downstairs with my employee badge. She looked surprisingly plain today, no makeup. Seeing me descend, she quickly approached and softly called out, "Senior." Then, she froze in place. I froze too. Without makeup, her resemblance to that person in the graduation photo was uncanny. 10 minutes later, Su Lin and I sat facing each other in the cafe below our office, painstakingly piecing together our thoughts. Su Lin had come looking for her senior. During the spring recruitment season, she'd achieved considerable success. After nearly 20 years of arduous study, she'd finally transformed from an impoverished student with empty hands into a promising new professional. She felt it was time to meet the senior who'd helped her before. Previously she hadn't dared, fearing she'd only be a burden. She learned the senior's name was Yu Qingqiu when she first saw it on that letter, a name etched in her heart for nearly a decade. The moment they met, she recognized the face she'd seen in her ex-boyfriend's phone. As for me, after finally stealing my heart and preparing for a direct confrontation with the other woman, I discovered she'd actually come to reconnect. What kind of absurd situation is this? Thank goodness this coffee shop uses ridiculously oversized cups. Hiding behind my gigantic mug, I grimaced awkwardly, needing 2 full minutes of mental preparation before daring to put it down. Su Lin across from me hadn't touched her coffee. Wringing her hands nervously, she stammered, "Senior, I am sorry to bother you. I just wanted to thank you. I brought you something." She pushed forward an exquisite little box with both hands, then hung her head like a guilty schoolgirl, staring fixedly at the table. Opening it, I found a platinum necklace with a lily-of-the-valley pendant, understated, elegant, and undoubtedly expensive. I remember the senior wrote a poem about bluebells in her letter. When I saw this necklace that day, I immediately thought it would suit you perfectly. I struggled to recall that letter. The poem eluded me, but Teacher Zhu's words surfaced in my memory instead. As dusk fell and the evening breeze rose, Teacher Zhu gazed out the window with a worried expression. I wonder how that child is doing now. After all, the person sitting before me now is a junior who formed a bond with me 10 years ago. I accepted her gift and told her that Teacher Zhu misses her very much and she should visit when she has time. 17. Back at the company, I immediately locked myself in a bathroom stall, clutched my head, and cringed so hard that I could have dug a spacious 3-bedroom apartment with my toes. Perhaps I should have glared coldly instead of letting it slide lightly. After all, when she hurt my feelings, she didn't hold back or show any mercy. As Dandan would say, to justify me, it's because I haven't suffered enough, so my heart remains too soft. Doted on by my parents since childhood, and having sailed smoothly through my studies, being betrayed by Lu Jian was the first setback I suffered in nearly 30 years of life. Noticing a Weibo notification pop up in my peripheral vision, I instinctively picked up my phone. After checking, my suspicion was confirmed. Su Lin had found my Weibo through a high school alumni connection, not through Lu Jian's network. This meant her following me wasn't meant to be a boast. Yet, a lingering doubt remained in my mind. Something about Su Lin's actions didn't quite add up. She didn't strike me as the type to foolishly flaunt her boyfriend's pay stub on Weibo. Besides, even as an intern, she would attended the company's compliance training, and known that was a red line. Unable to figure it out, by 5:30, I shut down my computer and left work. Beijing's early summer streets were already lush with greenery. 18. Over the weekend, a colleague asked me to help him pick out a birthday gift for his mother at the mall. His name was Mingja, slender, often dressed in shirts layered with knit cardigans, having studied in Japan, with a distinctly artistic vibe. We weren't close acquaintances. Perhaps we'd exchanged some pleasantries like thank you or you're welcome when passing drinks during dinners, but that could hardly be called conversation. Only once, during an office discussion about novels, a colleague interrupted, Anna Karenina. Aren't world classics just children's reading? What adult would read that? I replied very seriously, Anna Karenina is an exceptionally brilliant novel. It's something only adults can truly understand. And Mingja, who was usually silent, unexpectedly clapped and laughed, well said, which startled everyone present. The gift-buying process went smoothly. He quickly chose a scarf pattern at the counter. With half a day still left to spend, we casually visited Beihai Park, chatting by the shimmering lakeside. I had already begun considering returning to my hometown, and Mingja caught the hint of retreat in my words, asking me why I wanted to leave. Not wanting to elaborate, I replied dismissively, housing in Beijing is too expensive, unaffordable. I don't want to live a life suffocated by mortgage payments. Upon hearing this, he quickly responded, just find a partner who already owns property in Beijing. For a girl like you, there are naturally many admirers. Feeling awkward and at a loss for words, I noticed someone ahead turn around. It was actually Lu Jian. He cast us a quick glance, his expression unreadable. Then he quickened his pace and took a branching path. 19. I received an email from Lu Jian, sent at 3 a.m. He used to love writing me emails, always ending them with seasonal greetings, spring peace in spring, summer peace in summer, followed by autumn peace, and winter peace, the seasons revolving through our inbox. My curiosity got the better of me, so I opened it. What follows is the letter he wrote. Xiao Qiu, please allow me to still call you that. When we met by chance in the park yesterday, I couldn't describe my feelings, wanting to flee immediately yet unable to resist lingering to hear more of your voice. These days I keep recalling a scene from long ago, when you didn't know me yet. On a spring evening, coming out of the teaching building with my senior, I saw a girl in powder blue dress across the street smiling and waving this way. Rays of setting sun filtered through poplar leaves danced on your face, while the evening breeze rippled your skirt like water. Xiao Qiu, I don't think I ever told you I fell in love with you at first sight. Even now, I remember the unbelievable joy when you accepted my feelings that night. But Xiao Qiu, when exactly did I lose you? The thought of my foolish actions from not long ago makes my back prickle, as if pierced by countless needles. You must have heard already I've been let go, left the big tech company, and haven't found a new job yet. But precisely because of this, I finally have the time to stop and think carefully. This way, I've realized what a grave mistake I made. I thought happiness lay elsewhere, but I ended up losing the very person who could bring me happiness. It turns out, I was like a fish in water, constantly enjoying its gentle embrace, so accustomed to it that I took it for granted. Only after leaving did I realize. Xiao Qiu, grandma has passed away. Before she left, my parents were still fixated on whether she had handed over all her savings. My betrayal of you disappointed her too. She said a blessed woman doesn't enter an unblessed door. She wished for your happiness. The man you saw in the park yesterday must be better than me. I hope he will cherish you more than I did. So Lu Jian's grandmother had already passed away. I glanced once more at the cold computer screen, then deleted the letter. 20. I resigned and am preparing to return to work in my hometown. Before leaving, Mingja offered to see me off alone, and his mother came too. That's when I learned Auntie and I are from the same hometown. I ran into Dandan at a restaurant and later she teased me, "Silly you, not knowing how to hold onto a dependable Beijing rich second generation right under your nose." I laughed. I didn't even know he was a rich second generation, how could I have held on? Dandan said very seriously, "Chiao, trust my judgment." Though that old lady was dressed in plain sportswear, didn't dye her hair, and even took leftovers home, her whole demeanor screams at least 3 Beijing properties in the family. She rapped my head with her hand, "Look at you, all clueless, missed your chance. Otherwise, marrying into wealth, a glamorous wedding, wouldn't that have been a triumphant slap in Lu Jian's face?" Playing along, I put on a convincingly regretful expression, then asked her, "Where are you planning to hold your wedding?" Dandan finally succeeded in her blind date. The man holds a PhD from UPenn, and has already been promoted to associate professor at a 985 university in Beijing. We'll hold one wedding ceremony on each side. I guess my fate is settled now. Honestly, why are you in such a hurry to go back? Stay here and see where things go with that guy. The way he looked at you that day, TSK. I put away my smile and answered her doubts very seriously. Dandan, I can't just use another man to solve problems just because I failed in love. Lu Jian and I were together since university days, we barely even argued, thinking it would last forever. But look, we broke up just like that. How much do I really know about Mingzhi? How could I change my plans for him? I'm 27 now, not so easily caught up in fantasies. But I like living with this clarity. Dandan propped her chin with one hand, studied me carefully for a while, then said, "I finally understand why I like you. This is your best quality, calling a spade, never deceiving others, nor deceiving yourself. I don't have that kind of courage." 21. In this era of highly developed electronic communication, just before Spring Festival, a postal worker dropped a snow-white envelope into the mailbox downstairs of my home. When my father went to get the newspaper, he brought it up for me and remarked how touching it was that someone still wrote letters by hand these days. I read this long letter 3 times. The letter went like this. "Senior Qingqiu, that day after you accepted my gift and left, I sat in the cafe crying until I used up all the tissues on the table. Everyone in the cafe was staring at me. I cried out of gratitude many years ago. You saved me once, and that day, you saved me again. You must find this strange, right? Please let me explain from the beginning. Since I can remember, I've carried the mark of shame. My biological mother was an idiot who wandered into our village. After grandma took her in, and she gave birth to me, she was driven away. My father and grandmother were both obsessed with pyramid schemes, cheating all our relatives and neighbors until they lost their own money too. In middle school, being too poor to afford more than one set of underwear, my roommates would deliberately wet my changed clothes and then publicly accuse me the next day of not wearing any, calling me shameless. So during evening study break, I went back to the dorm and used their toothbrushes to scrub the toilet one by one. Senior, that was when I knew my soul was no longer clean either. Later, my father broke my hand. During my darkest days, I received your letter. Teacher Zhu told me it was written by a senior, who also had her hand broken. I thought she was joking. I kept the letter under my pillow, imagining what you must look like. I figured you must smile often, with eyes that curve like gentle crescent moons. After my right hand recovered, I still often write with my left hand. Later, I got into university and even started dating an excellent, gentle boyfriend. I thought after graduation I could marry him and finally have a home of my own. But misfortune soon struck again. My father forced me to go with the leader of that pyramid scheme group so he could become an insider and make big money. I managed to escape from home, only to soon receive a phone call. My father had been hit by a car while searching for me. I kept asking in disbelief. So he really died instantly? He's dead, right? The person on the other end confirmed it again. I looked up in wild joy. It was over. The torment and dark past that had haunted me ended with my father's death. But my joy was short-lived. My boyfriend was looking at me like I was some kind of insect. He simply couldn't accept a girl who couldn't wait for her own father to die, so he abandoned me. At that moment, I realized men were unreliable and I grew to hate the whole world. I played with men's emotions, using every possible method to extract money from them. Having suffered from poverty for my first 20 years, I was determined to possess great wealth. On the surface, I pretended to be naive and innocent, but my heart was filled with bitterness, which made me vengeful over the slightest provocation. During my internship, my mentor was harsh and indifferent, unwilling to spare time to provide me with necessary information. Yet during weekly meetings, they publicly blamed me for the slow progress of the project and privately scolded me for being incompetent, questioning how I even got in. So I decided to take revenge by pretending to admire them, exploiting their usefulness until there was nothing left. then mercilessly casting them aside. Senior, I'm sorry. I only later learned he was your boyfriend. I ruined your life. Before that, I had already destroyed many others' lives too. Senior, when I saw you that day, you were exactly as I imagined. You resemble the brightest side of the moon, while I am like the dark, cold, and desolate craters on its far side. Flowers are such a hassle, so expensive, yet they wither in just a few days. Giorgio, Senior, that necklace was clean. I bought it with my internship salary. You pulled me out of the mire once again. Thank you. 22. If Lu Jian were to hear the truth of the matter, I wonder how he'd feel. He once believed he had options on either side, that Su Lin was nothing but naive. In truth, Lu Jian didn't become that kind of person overnight. The him of the past wasn't so calculative or harsh and crude. I remember the year he participated in the ACM International Collegiate Programming Contest. When his teammate fell ill, he single-handedly wrote code for 2 going days without sleep. After the competition, he strode out of the airport in a suit, rested his head on my shoulder the moment we met, and said he was dead tired that he'd sleep for 3 days straight. But after just a short rest at the airport cafe, he was back at school discussing his thesis with his professor. Lu Jian secured a super special offer with 3 core research papers, entering the big tech company in high spirits, only to have his mentor completely steal his achievements and even undermine him during performance reviews. He encountered leaders assigning the same task to 2 people, euphemistically calling it horse racing, making him painfully feel like nothing more than a tool. I'm in no position to criticize Lu Jian for not being brave enough or failing to stay true to his original aspirations, because I've never endured the kind of torment that could erode one's ideals completely. But our relationship is over. After learning I returned to my hometown, Lu Jian extended an olive branch for reconciliation with utmost humility, but I was no longer willing. Our relationship was shattered beyond repair. Su Lin turned down the big tech company offer, deleted her influencer Weibo account with 100k followers, and went to Denmark to study. Dandan had a baby in her 2nd year of marriage, and I was honored to become Aunt Qiuqiu. I bought a home in my hometown, not far from my parents. After paying the down payment, my housing provident fund covers most of the mortgage. During renovation, I accidentally discovered some rental apartment makeover plans I'd collected years ago. Before leaving campus, I truly believed we could live a relatively joyful life. One can only say life is full of uncertainties, especially when it comes to relationships. But with the love I've received growing up as my foundation, an uncertain life doesn't seem scary. Like that boy I bumped into while walking my dog the other day. He asked me to browse bookstores together. Whether he becomes my lover or just a passing acquaintance, either is fine. As Miriam Young sang, treat it as leisurely recreation, preparing for my first kiss at 66. Maybe I'll get married at 66. Record number YXXBAPPPN6YGSU for RAG 01SQMO.